Ocean Town. Governor Hyacinth Alia has directed the Commissioner for Youth, Sports and Creativity to ensure that the contractor handling ongoing renovation at Aparaku Stadium completes the work within 8 weeks. Governor Alia gave the directive Friday at Kimbi's International Hotel Makodi while declaring open media director seminar for media officers of the Nigerian Premier Football League. The governor said the stadium, when completed, will meet international standard, stating that his administration was committed to upgrading football pitches across the state to ensure the revival of football economy in the state. He announced that renovation work at the JS Starker Stadium Boko would soon commence to harness youth talent in football. Reverend Father Alia hoped that at the end of his administration, Benue State would become sports hub in the country, pointing out that within his 1 year in office, he had reintroduced the Governor's Cup among other initiatives. Chief Operation Officer of the Nigerian Premier Football League, Mr. Davidson Onwumi, appealed to the Governor to support the forum in its quest to reposition the Premier League activities across the country and beyond. Mr. Onwumi said the seminar was to educate members of the forum about their responsibilities as media handlers of the various Premier League clubs across the country, and commended Governor Alia for the good work he was doing in the state. Meanwhile, President of the Media Forum of Premier League Directions in the country, Mr. Amos Eche, acknowledged the contribution of Governor Alia's administration to sports development in Nigeria, and Benue in particular. Correspondent Emmanuel Akula reports that the forum presented to the governor a letter of appointment as the grand patron of Nigerian Football League Media Directors Forum. The Benue State government is to develop 3,000 housing units as part of efforts to provide good shelter for internally displaced persons in the state. Governor Hyacinth Alia announced this Thursday at Government House Makodi when he received a delegation from the United Nations. According to the governor, the move is part of the state government's collaboration with the United Nations to ensure the well-being and eventual safe return of the internally displaced persons in the state. Correspondent Emmanuel Akula covered the event for Benue Television.
Since assumption of office in May 2023, the present administration in Benue State has continued to make deliberate moves to effect the safe return of displaced people in the state to their ancestral homes. In one of these moves, Governor Hyacinth Alia is receiving this high-powered delegation comprising 2 Assistant High Commissioners of the United Nations and the German Ambassador to Nigeria. The visitors are in the state to collaborate with government to identify areas of assistance to benefit the IDPs. Governor Alia, who pronounces donation of a 33-room building to the UN to serve as a central hub for their activities in Benue State, says the proposed 3,000 housing units will contain essential infrastructure and other utilities to create better living conditions for the IDPs. The governor seeks the support of the United Nations in building the capacity of some state agencies for effective coordination of humanitarian response towards achieving development goals. He reveals that his administration has directed the State Emergency Management Agency SEMA to upgrade facilities at health centers in Benue communities hosting IDPs and refugees, aside the establishment of a farm where food would be produced to feed them. According to his submission, over 5,000 IDPs have been captured for health insurance schemes.
We want to express my profound appreciation for the unwavering support to UNHCR, bolstering our state efforts to protect and provide for these displaced persons. In the face of these challenges, our administration remains resolutely committed to the principles of the Global Compact on Refugees. I am pleased to allocate the old Ministry of Information Complex along Barracks Road, a 33-room building for use as the UN's Red Roof in Makodi.
The UN delegation acknowledges the bad condition of the displaced citizens in the state and affirms their visit to collaborate with the state government for durable solutions. The UN team acknowledges the governor's attention to improve the living conditions of the IDPs in compliance with the international obligation, restating the international body's willingness to partner the state government to impact positively on the lives and stabilize the population.
It is a very commendable approach that Nigeria has taken to absorbing refugees here, and Benue State is very much an illustration of that, Excellency, because I understand that you have over 10,000 Cameroonian refugees in the state, that you have integrated them, that they even will be part of the social register and will in fact be part of the state grant investment programs as well.
There are about 10,000, close to 10,000 Cameroonian refugees in your state. You've been very generous to them. You've been providing them with all the support that they require. And in a world where it's not obvious that you receive and provide support to people who are fleeing their home, it is important to underline that and really to thank you and commend you for what you have been doing.
The German ambassador to Nigeria, Annette Gunther, stresses the need for all stakeholders to join hands to address the challenge of IDPs.
The problem of IDPs is also one that particularly applies to your state, and I was very happy to see you at the meeting at the Vice President's office the other day. That leadership is very much needed, and then the international community, be it the donors, be it the UN family, we can come in and help and complement what you are doing, or set examples that then can be scaled up and expanded. So I think this is something that needs us to work together closely.
Governor Hyacinth Alia thereafter leads the delegation to Ichwa IDP camp, located along Joseph Sawantaka University, Makurdi, for an on-the-spot assessment of the living conditions of the displaced citizens of the state, where he again assures the people of his government's efforts to effect their safe return to their ancestral homes.
The United Nations, it's come to see how you, my people, are doing here, and I'm happy they've come. They have seen, and they also feel exactly what you're feeling.
Emmanuel Akula, Benue Television News, Makurdi.
We apologize for the abrupt break. Welcome back to Benue Television News at 7. Well, moving on, the delegation from United Nations High Commission for Refugees has again visited factories under the Benue Investment and Property Company BIPC with a view to funding trainings for IDPs and refugees in the state. Correspondent Nation Dam says the officials Thursday re-inspected the production activities at the water and bread factories, and here is her report.
Ahead of the 2024 local government elections in Benue State, political parties and politicians are making a
These are two assistants from the High Commissioners from the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, UNHCR, and the German ambassador to Nigeria. They are here at Benue Investment and Property Company BIPC to see what the state has got in its latest efforts at production of goods and services through the company. After reassessing the factories, they will decide on how best to get the internally displaced persons, IDPs, and refugees to start participating in the state and the state-owned businesses for sustainable livelihood. Shortly after conducting the visitors around the water and bread factories, Managing Director BIPC Dr. Raymond Asimakaha announces that the UNHCR has agreed to partner BIPC for training of over 500,000 IDPs and refugees in Benue with a total sum of $5 million.
It's better for us to, do what to reintegrate them back to business instead of every month or every year they are coming to give them some international fund or support. So if you go inside, you see that some of them are already in the business. Some already they are doing the bakery. Some of them they're already knowing how to package the water, produce the water, and that's one of the things. So we have given the proof of concept now to the UNHCR that we are ready to partner with them to bring those people or reintroduce them or integrate them back to the business model. For some of them that they are also farmers, we want to, for them to go back to farming and we will take their produce.
Recall that on July 11, 2024, the UNHCR delegation led by Ajun Jain were at BIPC headquarters in Makurdi to have an interface with the management of the company to help provide sustainable means of livelihood for IDPs, and a memorandum of understanding was to be signed a month later. Mna Ishundam, Benue Television News, Makurdi.
Well, Governor Hyacinth Alia, as the leader of the All Progressives Congress APC in Benue State, has charged members of the party in the state to play by the rules and their conduct in the forthcoming local government elections in the state. Governor Alia's charge came Thursday after the Benue APC State Executive Committee meeting held at Government House in Makurdi, and Emmanuel Akula brings us the rest of the story.
Ahead of the 2024 local government elections in Benue State, political parties and politicians are making arrangements to participate in their exercise. The ruling party in Benue State, the APC, which has Governor Hyacinth Alia as its leader in the state, has inaugurated committees to coordinate members for the elections with a charge to conduct credible primaries and be fair in their dealings. Governor Alia, who chairs this meeting of the party, says he is championing exemplary leadership in the state and so tasked members of his party to be orderly as they take part in the local council elections. He affirms the party has set machinery in place to enable members' participation, assuring that his administration remains committed to providing dividends of democracy to the Benue people.
We made the membership to understand that it's very important for all of us to keep to the decorum and to know that everybody in the state is looking up to us, not just as a party, but very responsible government that hopes to let the common masses enjoy the benefits of democracy.
Acting chairman of the APC in Benue State, Benjamin Omakono, reveals that the SEC approves direct primary mode for the nomination of candidates, announcing the immediate commencement of sale of nomination and expression of interest forms.
The main agenda of the meeting was setting an agenda for the forthcoming local government election. The SEC has adopted the timetable of the party to participate in the forthcoming Benue State local government election.
Majority Leader of the Benue State House of Assembly, Sate Tise, who reviews membership of the meeting, affirms that his forms current for the resolutions reached in the interest of members and the Benue people.
We needed just to test, and we had more than what was the quorum. It was well attended by former members of the House of Reps, serving members of the House of Reps. The executive governor, who is the chairman, was there himself, and all of us, principal officers, past and present in the assembly.
The electoral empire in the state, the Benue State Independent Electoral Commission, BSEC, has slated October 5 for the conduct of the 2024 local council elections in the state. Emmanuel Akula, Benue Television News, Makurdi.
Moving on, President Bola Tinubu has launched the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority (NCA) healthcare expansion program and the retraining of 120,000 frontline health workers. The president explained that the aim is to improve the health and social well-being of Nigerians, drive economic development, and position Nigeria as a healthcare hub within Africa. The first initiative of the healthcare expansion program is a major milestone in the health sector, as 10 world-class healthcare facilities specializing in oncology and diagnostics will be established across the nation's 6 geopolitical zones. Represented by Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Muhammad Ali Pate, at the launch on Friday in Bauchi State, President Tinubu said the new project will complement the ongoing expansion of cancer infrastructure and equipment in 6 federal teaching hospitals. The president stated that beyond providing essential health care to Nigerians, these facilities will reverse the trend of outbound medical tourism. Tinubu also said upon completion of the first phase, the NCA through its subsidiary MedServe will operate the largest chain of oncology and diagnostic centers in West Africa, with the capacity to train up to 500 clinicians over 3 years, in addition to enhancing clinical trial and research capabilities. While underscoring the viability of the Nigeria Health Sectorial Investment Initiative (NHSRII), the president affirmed that the nation's productivity and wealth depends on the vitality of its people, adding that basic health care is a fundamental human right as well as a matter of long-term national security. Meanwhile, Ondo State government on Friday commenced the payment of 3.2 billion naira in outstanding gratuity to pensioners in the state. While speaking at the event in Akure, Ondo State Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa stated that the 3.2 billion naira disbursement will cover the total gratuity owed retirees from 2015 under the state pension scheme. Ayedatiwa explained that of this amount, 1 billion naira would be allocated to cover the gratuity for local government retirees from 2012 and 2013, while 2.2 billion naira would address the 2015 gratuity for state pensioners. The governor stated that his administration's approach to gratuity payment aims to tackle the significant arrears that has let loose of hope among retirees. He said government considers these a duty despite all the present financial commitments and the limited resources available. He promised that his administration would continue to provide basic infrastructure for the people of the state. Ayedatiwa appealed to all the retirees who are yet to receive their payments to be patient with the government, as they will be attended to soon. Earlier, the Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Amidu Takuro, expressed appreciation to the governor for settling the outstanding gratuity. Takuro, while acknowledging the hardships faced by retirees in the state, highlighted the governor's concern for their well-being. We now shift our attention to the chairman of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, Buba Marwa, who says imprisonment will strengthen deterrent effect of the agency's drug supply reduction efforts. Marwa said these while reacting to the sentencing of 3 kingpins and 16 other convicts who were jailed for a total of 302 years for drug trafficking and dealing in illicit drugs. This is contained in a statement by the Director, Media and Advocacy NDLEA, Femi Babafemi, on Friday in Abuja. He said that the 19 convicts topped the list of 414 drug traffickers and dealers convicted by the Federal High Court in Benue, Bauchi, Edo, Lagos, Ogun, Gombe, and the Federal Capital Territory. This, he said, was between July 1 and July 31, noting that it was based on charges filed against them by the Anti-Narcotics Agency. Marwa said that the dangerous opioid was 100 times more potent than heroin and currently responsible for over 70% overdose deaths, as well as a major contributor to fatal and non-fatal overdoses in the United States. He commended the officers and men of the various commands involved in the arrest and prosecution of the cases, as well as the judiciary, for speedy adjudication. In part 3, after the break, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said his country's forces have taken full control of the strategic Russian town of Sudzha in the Kursk region in their incursion into Russian territory. Well, that is from the international scene. We'll bring you much more after this break. Welcome back. We're still live on Benue Television News at 7. And I'm moving on to the international scene where Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said his country's forces have taken full control of the strategic Russian town of Sudzha in the Kursk region in their incursion into Russian territory. Zelensky also said that a military commander's office is being set up in the town, which had a pre-war population of around 5,000 people. Sudzha holds a measuring station for Russian natural gas that flows through Ukrainian pipelines to Europe. Russia did not immediately respond to Zelensky's statement, but its defense ministry earlier said that Russian forces had blocked attempts to take several other communities. Kursk's acting governor Alexei Smirnov ordered the evacuation of the Glushkovo region, about 45 kilometers northwest of Sudzha, as Ukraine's incursion entered its second week. The evacuation orders suggest Ukrainian forces are gradually advancing towards the area. Russia also declared a federal-level state of emergency in the Belgorod region. A regional-level state of emergency had been declared a day earlier in Belgorod, and the change in status suggests officials believe the situation is worsening and hampering the region's ability to deliver aid. Ukraine's General Oleksandr Syrskyi declared that Ukrainian forces have taken 1,000 square kilometers of the Kursk region. While reacting, United States White House spokesperson John Kirby told newsmen that he cannot speak on Ukraine's objectives, adding that Russian President Vladimir Putin appears to have some level of concern about the Ukrainian offensive in the Kursk region. Meanwhile, after Parliament confirmed her nomination by the ruling coalition Pheu Thai party, Paetongtarn Shinawatra has become Thailand's youngest ever prime minister. Paetongtarn succeeds Srettha Thavisin, who was removed from his post by a constitutional court ruling on Wednesday. The 37-year-old, known by her nickname Onging, is the youngest child of billionaire tycoon Thaksin Shinawatra, and is the third member of the family to hold the nation's top job after her father and aunt. Sretha's removal was the latest chapter in a long-running battle between the military, pro-royalist establishment and populist parties linked to Thaksin, who shook up the country's state politics when he was first elected prime minister in 2001. He spent years in exile after being removed in a military coup in 2006 and returned to Thailand only last year, on the day Pheu Thai formed the government. The ruling coalition chose Paetongtarn as its replacement at a meeting on Thursday night, after none of the 10 other parties in the coalition put forward an alternative. Pheu Thai and its partners hold 314 seats in parliament, and Paetongtarn needed the approval of more than half of the current 493 lawmakers to become prime minister. Paitong Tan helped run the hotel arm of the family's business empire before entering politics 3 years ago and has never held elected office. She was a near constant presence on the campaign trail in the 2023 elections when she was one of the few Thai prime minister candidates given birth just 2 weeks before polling day. Well, the United Nations report shows that Afghanistan's Taliban government has deliberately deprived at least 1.4 million girls of their rights to education during its 3 years in power. They said about 300,000 more girls are missing out in school since UNESCO last carried out a count in April 2023, warning that the future of an entire generation is now in jeopardy. Taking into account the number of girls not going to school before the Taliban came to power in August 2021, the UN's Educational and Cultural Agency said 80% of Afghan school-age girls, a total of 2.5 million, are now being denied their right to education. According to analysts, Afghanistan is the only country in the world to stop girls and women attending secondary schools and universities. Since the Taliban came to power, it has barred education for girls above 6th grade, arguing that it does not comply with its interpretation of Islam, although no other Muslim country prohibits girls from being educated. UNESCO Director General Audrey Azoulay urged the international community to remain mobilized to obtain the unconditional reopening of schools and universities to Afghan girls and women. The Taliban administration, which is not recognized by any other country, has imposed restrictions on women that the UN has described as gender apartheid. UNESCO said the number of primary pupils has also fallen, and Afghanistan had 5.7 million girls and boys in primary school in 2022, compared with 6.8 million in 2019. It blamed the drop on the authorities' decision to ban female teachers from teaching boys, adding that parents also lacked incentives to send children to school. The UN agency stated that enrollment in higher education is equally concerning, and the number of university students had decreased by 53% since 2021. Well, that brings us to the end of the news, but before we go, let's take another look at the top stories. The headlines we saw that Governor Hyacinth Alia has directed Commissioner to ensure speedy completion of renovation of Abaver Stadium. We also saw that President Bola Tinubu has launched Sovereign Investment Authority Healthcare Expansion Program. And on the international scene, Ukraine's president has said his forces have taken full control of strategic Russian town. Well, that was Benue Television News at 7. Thanks for watching. I am Susan Atching. Do you have a lovely evening as you stand by for news in all the languages. Good night.